Okay, Guru Maharaj, just give us a few minutes because I'm going to get the center to send the link to everybody. It might just take a few seconds. Okay.
Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare.
Guru Maharaj, if you could bring your camera a little bit lower because it's showing more of the ceiling. Okay, Maharaj. Okay, Guru Maharaj, you may start.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret Nastapreshu Bhagavasevaya. Okay, what happened? I don't know.
It's okay now, Maharaj. It was stuck for a few seconds. Could be the bandwidth issue.
Okay. So reading verse number 39. Ato bhagavato maya mayinam apimohini yat swayam chatma vatmatma naveda kim utapare. Ato bhagavato maya mayinam apimohini yat swayam chatma vatmatma naveda kim utapare. Ato bhagavato maya mayinam apimohini yat swayam chatma vatmatma naveda kim utapare. Okay, word meaning, ata, thus, bhagavata, godly, maya potencies, mayinam of the jugglers, api, even, mohini, enchanting, yat, that which, swayam, personally, cha, also, atma vartma, self-sufficient, atma, self, na, does not, veda, no, kim, what, uta, to speak of, apare, others. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thus, the wonderful potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is bewildering even to the jugglers. That potent power is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord, so it is certainly unknown to others. Purport. The froggish philosophers, mundane wranglers in science and mathematical calculation may not believe in the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are sometimes puzzled by the wonderful jugglery of man and nature. Such jugglers and magicians of the mundane world are actually puzzled by the jugglery of the Lord in his transcendental activities, but they try to adjust their bewilderment by saying that it is all mythology. There is, however, nothing impossible or mythological in the Supreme Omnipotent Person. The most wonderful puzzle for the mundane wranglers is that while they remain calculating the length and breadth of the unlimited potency of the Supreme Person, his faithful devotees are set free from the bondage of material engagement simply by appreciating the wonderful jugglery of the Supreme in the practical field. The devotees of the Lord see the wonderful dexterity in everything with which they come in contact in all circumstances of eating, sleeping, working, etc. A small banyan fruit contains thousands of small seeds, and each seed holds the potency of another tree, which again holds the potency of many millions of such fruits as causes and effects. So the trees and seeds engage the devotees in meditation about the activities of the Lord, while the mundane wranglers waste time in dry speculation and mental concoction, which are fruitless in both this life and the next. In spite of their pride in speculation, they can never appreciate the simple, potent activities of the banyan tree. Such speculators are poor souls destined to remain in matter perpetually. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this verse, we're hearing Maitreya relate to Vidura, the Lord's potencies, describing how the Lord creates the universal form and all the different features of the material universe. So hearing the description of the creation as it is given in Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Vedic literatures is very bewildering for materialistic persons in the bodily concept of life to understand that there could actually be such a person as a creator. Generally, people like to think that this world simply came about by chance, and they think there's no God in control, right? It's the demonic nature. They think that there's no God, this world is unreal, without any foundation, and it has no purpose other than simply sense gratification. This is the Asuric mentality described in the Bhagavad Gita. So we want to present here this morning some logical and scriptural references to support that there is such a personality behind the creation, that it's not simply by chance. And we're basing these arguments on the teachings of our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and his literature. So let's take a look at the universe. Certainly, there are many features in the universe which are very difficult for us to answer, right? What is the origin, first of all, of the universe? Where does it all come from? That's the big question, right? Does it come from a big bang, or did we come out of the black hole or the white hole? Or are we all from chemicals? Do we believe in evolution? General materialistic people, modern day education, focus more on evolution. But the Vedic literature present creation. This chapter which we're reading in Srimad Bhagavatam is describing creation. And creation means there's a person behind the creation, intelligent persons, supreme intelligent beings who arrange for the creation of the universe. So who created it? Who did this? What is the purpose? Why is it so complicated? Is it complicated? Yeah, if we look, we see so many features. There's a sun, there's a moon, there's so many stars, different planets rotating. What's the purpose? We see so many wonderful things around us. At least we were reading in the purport about the banyan tree and how the devotees see the wonderful features of just simply one tree, one banyan tree. How from the one tree so many seeds come to produce so many other trees. So let's look at some features of the material world. We can see so many beautiful flowers, colorful flowers. You can see the rose, very fragrant, very special flower, beautiful smell and very soft touch. Scimitars. Look at these birds. Who's behind all this? Who's the designer? Swimmers, we go into the sea, we see a whole nother feature of world which we're oblivious to. Living in material world, we don't think about what's in the ocean. So many other living entities are there. All around the planet, there's so many different exotic creatures. Very special. Each of them have their own unique their own appearance, their special features. Here's our banyan tree, right? And then the sun. Look at the nature of the sun. Describing here, the sun emits energy per second equal to a 1 kilowatt electric fire burning for 10 billion years. Inconceivable. So we say, you want to understand the nature of this world, you have to understand that there are such things as inconceivable energy. And look at the sun. The sun is the ideal example, the most obvious example of this feature in the material world. Inconceivable energy. Or we would say in Sanskrit, achintya shakti, right? Inconceivable potencies. These potencies of the Lord are bewildering to the materialistic people. With their limited mind and senses, they cannot begin to understand. And many people, those who are materialistic, they simply reject and say impossible, impossible. They think that there is such a thing as impossible. However, we have learned from our spiritual teacher and from his realizations of the Vedic literature that impossible is a word only in the Fool's Dictionary. We want to understand how there are such things, inconceivable potencies. When we can accept that there are inconceivable potencies, then you can go on to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. Without that, then you'll never appreciate the nature of this world. Describing here, energy emitted by the sun per second is greater than the amount of energy the human species has consumed throughout its entire history. Another inconceivable fact of this material creation. Inconceivable. It's just beyond our imagination to have such an energy source. We're always talking about the energy problem and we're worried about consuming energy, but the sun is giving so much energy throughout history without any problem. It is only one of the smallest of countless stars floating in the sky. So many other stars are there, far away. They're much further away than the sun. But there's one sun in each universe. So we see many wonderful things in the world. We say, well, man also creates wonderful things. Of course, nothing like a sun like that. But, you know, men have their own abilities and they do produce wonderful things. Let's look at some of the things man has managed to create, right? Nice cars, computers. These are all old things, right? Architectural marvels. Oh, my goodness. Someone built it, right? The buildings, somebody put them up. Sculptures, somebody carved it. Cakes, nice cake. Somebody also baked it. Any creation means creator. Must be people behind the creation. It's not just simply by chance. So when we look at the universe, there's also some supreme intelligent creator. What about scientists? How do they feel? Let's look at some of their statements about life. Einstein said, there is a perfect brain behind all the natural physical laws. Laws mean there's a lawmaker. It's not just by chance. We give the name to somebody else who discovers it, but the person who discovered it, he didn't make it. There's a greater personality who created that law, the lawmaker. Who is the lawmaker? That should be understood. Lord Kelvin says, if you think strongly enough, you will be forced by science to believe in God. Are we willing to think about this strongly enough? Majority of people are not willing. It's just no. They know that if they will have to believe in God, they will be automatically obliged to live a more moral, law-abiding life. And many people in the world are not willing to do that. Therefore, they want to just reject God and have a carefree life. They think free, but actually it's not freedom. They're under the control of the material nature. Isaac Newton says, the most beautiful system of the sun, planets, comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. Anyone who looks at the world, who looks at the universe and sees creation, they can understand there's definitely some intelligent designer there. And of course, uniquely powerful, power far beyond our imagination. Isaac Newton continues, this being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as the Lord over all. And on account of his dominion, he is to be called Lord God, universal ruler. He is a scientist. He understood. He looked carefully at the world and he could understand. There has to be some ruler, some supreme creator over everything. That is intelligence. So who is that creator? That is the next subject. We can understand there's a creator. Why doesn't he show himself to us? Well, we have to be able to see him, to recognize him. There are many people, they can recognize God. So sometimes people think that supreme controller is something impersonal, like the light or energy. Sometimes it's called the Brahman. Some people even describe that light as Shiva. They think like this. They're thinking in some impersonal way. But this light or energy must have a source. Where does the light come from? Energy must be possessed by someone. Just like I have my energy, you have your energy. So when we speak of energy of the universe, where does it come from? Whose energy is it? Who is the energetic? Who is the possessor of that energy? And same way with the light. In the Upanishads, if you study the Ishopanishad, it is mentioned there, Haranmayena patrena satyasya pitam mukham. The Upanishads are saying, kindly remove that covering. The Haranmaya, the bright light, the patrena is covered. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit your form to your devotees. Satyasyapitam mukham. We want to see your face. Because the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedic text, is a Shruti mantra describing that behind impersonal, personal. If we investigate fully this impersonal feature, we will find that that impersonality is coming from a person. The nature of the Lord is that he is both personal as well as impersonal. He is not limited. If we limit him, then he's not God. If we are persons and he is not a person, then we're something more than him. Then we become the supreme. We have to understand everything in the creation is coming from him. So his creation cannot be more than him. So the alternative, if he is not just simply light, not only light and energy, then maybe he is the supreme person. To give a mundane example, another example using logic to understand the nature of the creation, we look at a successful company in the material world, Microsoft, right? Well managed, world-renowned, operations around the world. No. Behind all that, there's a person running, managing it all, right? An intelligent man, must be intelligent, made so much money, made so much power, name for himself, set up the whole organization. America, so many states, governed. I don't know who governs now. This PowerPoint was made a while ago. One man behind it. Who is the person behind this gigantic manifestation? We can see there's a behind the company Microsoft, Bill Gates was there. Behind the USA, you have the temple, you have the American president. So who is behind this cosmic manifestation? There must be some person also behind it. And when we look at the scriptures, if we read Bhagavad Gita, here's a nice verse from the 10th chapter describing a statement by Lord Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Lord Krishna is describing that he is the source of everything material and spiritual. Everything emanates from him. It's inconceivable. People say mythology. You think Bhagavad Gita is mythology? Bhagavad Gita has been sung for 5,000 years at the latest. And even before that, of course, the same knowledge was spoken millions of years ago to the sun god, Vivishwan. More recently, it was spoken 5,000 years ago at Kurukshetra by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. No one has found any imperfect knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. Rather, it's studied by people all over the planet. Not only the planet, it is universal knowledge for everyone. So within the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is describing everything comes from him. Everything material and spiritual. He is not limited. We say mythology. That's what you say. But for the devotees, for those who have faith in the Bhagavad Gita, those who have understood the Bhagavad Gita, they understand this is not just, this is truth. This is actual fact. And how he creates, how it all comes from him is described in literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedic texts. They describe how the Lord creates in a very scientific, detailed manner. It's not mythology at all. A very detailed, logical presentation of all the different elements of the creation, the different sense organs, and the activities of the senses. It's all described step by step, how the creation takes place. You simply have to study, you have to hear. Here's another verse from Bhagavad Gita. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tam aham arjuna natad asti vina yachyam maya bhutam characharam. Lord Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the generating seed of all existence, right? The bija. Bija means the seed. Just like for that banyan tree in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was describing One tree produces so many seeds, so many fruits, and in each fruit there are many, many seeds. And each of those seeds has the potential to produce a whole nother tree. So the same way, Lord Krishna is the generating seed of all existence. You see all the different species, the seed of all of these different species is coming originally from the Supreme Lord. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. The Lord is in the heart of all living entities as the Paramatma. So within every living entity, there's that spiritual spark, which is a part of the Lord. Another reference from Bhagavad Gita. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. This material nature is moving under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. We were saying material nature. Whose nature is it? Yeah, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he answers, material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. The material nature is not working just by chance. It's under his control, under his direction. Nothing is by chance. Chance? There's no such thing as chance. There's a reason for everything. That we try to make excuses to avoid understanding the reality. But the fact is, there's a reason for everything. The material world is created not by chance, but the Lord has the plan. He creates this world for all of us. It's all done under his direction, very carefully. Another verse. Prakritim swam avastabhya vishrijami punah buddhamam kritsnam avasham prakriter vashat. The Lord is saying, the whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Just like we have day, and after day comes the night. Then after night, then again comes the day. So the same is true on the cosmic level, that there is the creation of the cosmic universes, and in course of time, there is destruction. And after destruction, after some time, again comes creation. It's going on continually since time immemorial. And this knowledge of the scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita, is also perennial knowledge. It is eternal knowledge. It is not something new. It is not some new creation. It is eternal. This knowledge is there to guide us how to live in this world. From the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is describing Gamma Vishya cha Bhutani Dharayami Aham Ojasa. Lord Krishna is describing how these planets stay in orbit. We say the planets are all in orbit due to gravity. But where is the gravity? Who creates that gravity? Where does it come from? If we pick up an object and then release it from our hand, it will fall to the floor. Why don't the planets fall to the bottom of the universe? Lord Krishna says, I enter into each planet, and by my energy, they stay in orbit. We never thought about it. We're riding on this Earth planet. It's revolving at a high speed around the universe. And we never thought about it. We never thought about what would happen if the Earth planet fell into the bottom of the universe. We never thought anybody's holding it in orbit. We just accept everything. We're very simple-hearted people. We have to look at the world more realistically and see, then it becomes clear that there must be some great, intelligent, all-powerful being behind this universe. Lord Krishna is describing how he does it, how he functions. By his energy, they stay in orbit. Yad yad vibhuti matsattvam srimadurjitam evava tattad eva vagachyatvam mama tejomisha sambhavam. Lord Krishna is saying, what need is there for all of this detailed knowledge, Arjuna? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire creation. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. What is that spark? That spark of Krishna's splendor, which is pervading everything and supporting everything, from which all these beautiful creations are coming from. It's all coming from Krishna. And what is that spark? We would call it a Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, or the Paramatma in the heart of all living entities. Paramatma, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, is there not only in the hearts of all living entities, but even in the atoms. Of course, we don't see him. That's his mystic power. He doesn't reveal himself to everyone. But people with proper intelligence, when they look closely, they can understand there must be some intelligent being behind the creation. Another verse, this time from Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadhirad Govind Sarvaparana Karanam. Right? Who's controlling everything? Krishna. Krishna is the controller. He is known as Govinda. He has a form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. He is the cause of all causes and the origin of all origins. Everything comes from him. He is the original person from which everything comes. Srila Vyasadeva is shown here, and we're stating now from Srimad Bhagavatam, another reference to help us all to be convinced. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva has written, Ete chamsa kala pumsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam indriyani vyakal lokam yuge. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva, 3rd chapter, was describing different incarnations of the Lord. And he described, after mentioning all these different incarnations, he says that all of those incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, right? He is a Bhagavan Swayam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The Bhagavan Swayam, the original personality of Godhead. And all of those other incarnations, Nrsimha, Ramha, Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, all of these different incarnations, there's so many incarnations of the Lord. They are all coming from him. He is the original. So we spoke about Srila Vyasadeva, how he wrote in his Srimad Bhagavatam. Then there's also great acharyas. What do they feel like? Great acharyas. Who are those acharyas? Madhvacharya. You can see Madhvacharya in the background. We've shown Hanuman, because Madhvacharya, he's considered to be partial incarnation of Hanuman. He's a very powerful devotee who appeared in South India and Udupi, in that region. and his temple there is at Udupi. Udupi Krishna, famous deity, is there. He was very powerful, very strong, just like Hanuman. And he was a great devotee, a great Vaishnava. And our line of disciplic succession is coming from Madhvacharya. There is a Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So Madhva is in our line. We are coming in this line from Madhva. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation in this line from Madhvacharya. And this is a Gaudiya. So Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. After Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Then Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya appears more than, but just I think 2 years ago we celebrated the 1000th anniversary of the appearance of Ramanujacharya. So he appeared in this world something like 1002 years ago. And he was another stalwart Vaishnava who preached the Vaishnava philosophy all over India. And he wrote many scriptures also. And his line is called he's in the line from Lakshmi Vaishnavas. And you can see how his body is marked with the vertical tilak, because he's Vaishnava. Vaishnava means he accepts the Lord as the Supreme and we are his servant. So he's a devotee of Lord Vishnu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, more than 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared here in this place, Mayapur. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we said, took initiation in the line from Madhva, and he propagated the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And he established what we would call the Yuga Dharma, the chanting, the Sankirtan movement, the chanting of the holy names. And his disciples went to Vrindavan and discovered the holy place of Lord Krishna's pastimes. They established wonderful Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, after traveling around South India and India for some 6 years, and then he spent the final 18 years of his manifest pastimes in Jagannath Puri. And in Jagannath Puri, he worshipped Lord Jagannath, took part in the Rath Yatra every year, and engaged in Krishna Katha, hearing topics of Krishna and the association of his devotees. Satam prasangam mama virya sambido bhavanti ridkarana rasayana katha chaschoshna dyash apavargavatmani shradharatir bhaktir mukramishati. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila has described the topics of Lord Krishna when heard in the association of his devotees are very pleasing to the ear and to the heart. By hearing such topics of Krishna, then our heart becomes purified. Then real knowledge, devotion, and devotional service awaken. And Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. So Shraddha meaning Asakti, and Rati meaning Bhava, and Bhakti meaning Prema Bhakti. These things, they all come one after another by hearing about Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this. Shankaracharya. Now Shankaracharya, he has his own, this is Advaitavada, but he also accepts Narayana Parovyaktat. He said that Narayana is beyond the material creation. According to the scriptures and the Puranas, it describes that Shankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva. And his mission in coming into this world was to divert the minds of the atheistic people. Mayavada asat shastram prachanam bodham uchate. Shankaracharya's teachings are covered Buddhism. Mayavada asat shastra. He's not teaching the Sanatan Dharma, but he's teaching the asat Dharma, the temporary conclusion. and this was covered Buddhism. But by teaching this covered Buddhism philosophy, he was able to bring back the Vedas, because before Shankaracharya, the Buddhists had removed the Vedic philosophy. They rejected the Vedas. And it was Shankaracharya who brought back the Vedas and established Brahminical culture. Then after Shankaracharya, then the Vaishnava Acharyas came and taught the higher understanding of the Vedic knowledge. So all have confirmed the same truth. They've all said the same thing, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, right? We also want to encourage all of you to understand the position of Lord Krishna, that he is beyond our material senses. We cannot understand him ourselves, but if we hear about him carefully, then we can understand. So we'll stop here and ask if there are any questions from the audience. Anyone would like to put forward a question or challenge or doubt or anything?
Guru Maharaj, there is a question from Sudama Vipraha Prabhu. The question is, are the number of souls in the universe fixed? If not, when does new souls come to this world? And what happens to those souls during annihilation?
Okay. New souls come to the world when we come from the spiritual world. If we're not here in the material world, we must be somewhere in the spiritual world, right? There are the two worlds. There's the spiritual world, the eternal abode of the Lord with his pure devotees, and there's the material world, which is for the rebellious souls. So if we're not here in the material world, we must be somewhere in the spiritual world. So when we come from there. And at the time of annihilation, when this material world is annihilated, if we're not yet sure to go back to the spiritual world, then we enter into Mahavishnu, the body of Mahavishnu, or Koranodokashai Vishnu, who is laying in the causal ocean. And we all enter into that body of Mahavishnu. And we remain there until the next creation takes place. Like that. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. This is from Ajit Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj, it is mentioned in this verse that the Supreme Lord himself does not know the full extent of his own powers. How do we understand this when we know that the Lord is the knower of everything? In this just mentioned, is this just mentioned to give a better appreciation of the unlimited energies of the Lord? Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, you may be correct. It may just be mentioned to give us help, but we do know that the Lord has inconceivable powers. So inconceivable powers means that even when the Lord knows his power, then his powers are always expanding and increasing, constantly increasing. So the Lord knows his powers, but then they increase again. So more than what he knows, they increase again. And then the Lord has to look and he has to realize that the extent of his power and not again, but then it's increased again. So it's always going on like that, continually increasing his energies more and more each time. So he knows himself, but then he increases and he has to know himself again. So it's like that, inconceivable. The Lord has these. So something is inconceivable not only to us, it's inconceivable to him. He knows everything. He knows everything conceivable, but is it possible to know everything inconceivable? I mean, even we ourselves have powers. We don't know everything about our own bodies, about everything taking place within our own body, different things which are going on. We're living in the body, but we're not aware of everything which is happening in the body. There's so many things we don't know about this world and about this universe. Even we do things, you may drive a car, but you don't necessarily know how the car's working. We use computers, but we don't know anything about how the computer works. We just sit and type. But so many things are going on in the computer. So many things we don't know. And so the Lord also, he has powers, he has inconceivable powers, he can do wonderful things, and he knows everything, but then it's always changing. It's a dynamic situation. It's not like the in material life where everything is reducing, where everything is static. It's a dynamic situation, and his energies, his potencies are all dynamic. Parashya Shakti Vivadaiva Shruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha. The Lord has these inconceivable potencies. And he knows it, but then they increase again. So it's a very dynamic situation. That's how I can understand it. You may have another understanding. We don't know where the reference for this is taken from. Is it just Prabhupada just saying like this to help us to impress upon us the nature of the Lord? We don't know. If Prabhupada was here, we could ask him more about this. There's so many things we'd like to ask Prabhupada. But Prabhupada said, I did not write these books. Krishna wrote, Krishna would inspire me. Krishna was writing through me. And so if we take it like that Krishna wrote through Prabhupada, then Krishna himself is saying like that. Krishna wants us to understand how inconceivably great his potencies are. Okay.
Guru Maharaj, Rupa Raghunath Prabhu had a question, but it was already answered by you while you were answering Ajit Prabhu's question. So I'll move on to another question from Subra Nachaya Prabhu from Johor Bahru. He says, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, how do we know the soul will reach Krishna Loka?
How do we know? Well, we have Krishna's word for it in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna said, my devotees will come to me. All right? The worshipper, if you worship the Devas, you'll go to the planets of the Devas. If you worship the forefathers, you go to the planet of the forefathers. If you worship ghosts, you'll go to that planet. And if you worship the Lord, you will go to him. So Krishna promises to bring the devotees back to him. So we have faith in the words of Lord Krishna. That's very important. You have to have faith. Faith in scriptures. That's very important. How do we know anything? We have to hear. We have to hear from the scriptures. And if it's stated there in the scriptures, why you want to challenge it? Just accept. Krishna says he will take care. Actually, devotees surrendered to Krishna. Wherever Krishna wants to put us, we will accept. A devotee doesn't see any difference between heaven and hell. Wherever he goes, there's the opportunity to do service for Krishna. That's the important thing. It's not just going back to Goloka, but it's service to Krishna we want. It is service to Krishna which is the life of the devotee. Just please engage me in your service. Wherever you put me, I just want devotional service. Then our life is perfect. We don't have to worry about going back to Goloka or going to Goloka. We'll be with Krishna everywhere if we're doing service. Krishna said, I am not in Vaikuntha, I am not in the hearts of the yogis meditating on me, but I am wherever my devotees like Narada are chanting my holy name. So to get Krishna's association, you can attract him by devotional service, particularly by chanting his holy name. Very important, very powerful. Okay, any more questions?
Guru Maharaj, mindful of your time, would you have another few more minutes for two more questions?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the first question is from Monica Garg Mataji. She's asking, can we pet dogs? I had tried to ask her, whether is she speaking about can we keep pet dogs, but she says no, can we pet dogs, meaning, stroke the dogs, etc.
Yes.
Not related to the class.
Mm-hmm. So petting dogs, stroking the dogs, you should understand it's not really recommended, because the dogs generally, they don't have a high level of cleanliness, or they're not able to actually keep themselves clean. And you stroke them, then, well, it's a sign of your affection for the dog. But that kind of affection is not going to help you to develop your spiritual consciousness, transcendental consciousness. Now, we like dogs because they're also souls. They're also part and parcel of Krishna. And we also give mercy to dogs. But giving mercy to them doesn't mean you have to stroke them. Some people even kiss them, and some people sleep with them, and you can do so. Some people do so many things with the dogs. I want to be a little cautious about that. Why? Because we get very affectionate to the dogs, and they like that. Of course, they're souls. They like affection. We also like affection, but we should understand what your real duty to the dog. You give the dog prasadam. Give the dog some Krishna prasadam and let it hear the chanting of the holy name. That is real affection to the dog. That is the best way to help the dog to get a better form of life in the future. You certainly don't want to give the dog meat. That will bring you karma. You give the dog prasadam and you let the dog hear the chanting of the holy name. We don't really encourage you to keep the dog in the home. Dogs prefer to be outside. They're much happier to be outside and to roam around. It's unnatural for you to keep a dog in the home. You may like the company, but it's not really proper. You should keep company with Krishna by chanting his holy name, and have a deity of Krishna and worship Krishna. So you want to be very cautious about displaying affection for dogs or any animal. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the example of a great king named Bharat Maharaj, who had retired to the Himalayas. So he was on his own in the Himalayas doing meditation. But one day he saved the life of a small deer, and the deer had no mother. The mother had died. The deer was on its own, and so Bharat took care of the deer and fed it, and he became very affectionate to it. He also petted it, and, became very much attached to it. And the result was, next life he became a deer. He had already been very advanced as a devotee, very, very advanced, but still, because of his affection for the deer, he thought of the deer at the time of death, and he came back in an animal body as a deer. And he could remember his previous life. So this is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a well-known history, not mythology, it's a history. We want to be very careful. Now somebody may say, well, I don't mind being a dog. Well, when somebody said that to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, then you have my blessings. If you like to be a dog, I give you my blessing, go ahead. But that's not like human life. Human life is very special. It has a special purpose, a special responsibility. Now, if you like to be compassionate to animals, help them to develop a better form of life, to get a human body. Chant the holy name to them and give them prasadam. Don't pet them. That's not going to help you. It's not going to help the dog either. Okay, what's the other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is the final question for today's class, and it's again from Sudama Vipraha Prabhu. Maharaj, is only worship of the Supreme Lord sufficient? We make so many aparadhas, even while worshipping. So what about those aparadhas? Do we still have a chance? What about those aparadhas interrupting us? Thank you, Maharaj.
Is worshipping the Lord enough? Well, there's a purpose behind the worship. The purpose of the worship is that we will develop love. And it's but the worship is a manifestation of our loving feeling and our devotion towards the Lord. So devotion is the important point, that we want to develop our devotion. So by worshiping the Lord, now different ways in which you may worship. Some people may worship a deity in the temple and so on, and other people may worship the Lord by studying scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and other people may worship the Lord through the chanting of his holy names. That's very recommended in this age. Most recommended, the chanting of the holy name. So it is stated in the scriptures that simply by chanting the holy name, one can get all perfection. So worship of the Lord is very important because it's a manifestation of devotion. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he can only be understood by devotion. Now you're worried, what about some offenses or aparadhas may be there in the course of the worship? Yes, aparadhas may be there, even in chanting the holy name, aparadh may be there. Actually, if you worship the deity, you have to be sure the holy name, because the chanting of the holy name will protect us from the offenses in the worship of the deity. If you don't chant the holy name, then you will suffer from the offenses in the worship. But the chanting of the holy name will protect us from offenses in the worship. But what if in the chanting of the holy name there are offenses? Then what to do? Still we should chant. We should do more chanting and gradually bring our chanting to the higher level. We need to get association, guidance from the senior devotees who can help us to overcome the offenses and to guard against the offenses in chanting. Yeah, offenses are something very serious. There can be offenses in deity worship, offenses in our seva, our chanting, offenses in dealing with people, also very common, that we're not careful and we commit some offense, we insult people. So these are serious things, and this can greatly obstruct our progress in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we have to overcome all these offenses by careful chanting of the holy name and by respectful dealings with all the devotees. Therefore, every morning when we greet the devotees, we begin by, or after the Mangal Arti, we offer our obeisances to all the devotees. Even when we are taking a phone call, we will receive a call, we will say, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhupada instructed the devotees that by offering obeisances to the other devotee, then you can be relieved from any offense you may have committed unknowingly against them. So it's a very important activity. We have to do this all the time, regularly. Beg forgiveness, offer our obeisances to the other devotees. Lord Chaitanya said, Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahi. Offer all respects to others and don't be eager for respect ourselves. And in such a state of mind, constantly chant the holy name. This is the best way to worship Krishna. Kali Yuga, no other way. Harinama, Harinama, Harinamiva Kevalam. Kaloa Nasteva, 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 Gatiranya. No other way. The think of the holy name is the process for worshipping Krishna. Of course, deity worship is also good, keeps us clean, keeps us regulated, very nice. But you cannot neglect the chanting of the holy name. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. There are no other questions.
Okay, so thank all the devotees for their association. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. His Holiness Bhakti Vighna Vinash Narasimha Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Thank you, Maharaj.